Okay.
Yes.
All right. Hello everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Matthieu Duvault. I am instructor trainer for Molchanovs Freediving education and also competitor freediver. And I'm very lucky because I live in Tulum in Mexico and I dive daily in the Cenotes. So today I'm gonna try to make you travel a little bit through your screen and to explain you what is a cenote, why is it special for freediving, and going through a little bit of my photography to show you a little bit what it is and what to expect and just make you see something else, right? Because right now everyone is locked in, everyone miss water, and me the same. I'm no different. I don't have access to anything because it's all closed. but it's gonna be nice to do that. And at the end, I will open for some questions if you have. So feel free to ask me any question about freediving in the cenotes or about the area. I will be happy to answer you. So first, what is a cenote? A cenote is a freshwater sinkhole, and you can find some in many places in the world, but the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico is the place where you can find the most of them. We have around 6,000 to 7,000 cenotes just in the peninsula. Why? It's because the bed of the peninsula is made of limestone, which is a porous rock, which is the way the cenote will be created. I will show you in a moment a little video explaining the creation of the cenotes, and you will understand a bit better. Yeah, so maybe we start with that. Alisa, you can play the video. It's,
which one?
It's Cenote creation.
Okay.
And it's going to be less than 2 minutes. It's very simple. You will understand how it works and why we have this cave and etc. And understand. Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
All right, very cool. So you can find this video on OceanWise, and it's ocean.org if I remember. It's really nice because they explain in a very simple way, graphically, like how the cenote were born and how they filled with water. Why do we have stalactite inside or stalagmite, and how the life came in. But now I will explain you a bit more, illustrating by some pictures, so you will have like a real life view of what it is. Okay. So yeah, to keep going on the cenotes in terms of like geography, you can find some in Cuba, for example. You can find some in Belize. You can find some in other places in Mexico. But like I said, like the highest concentration is in the Yucatan Peninsula. It's the place where you have the most in the world. You can find something quite similar also in Florida. I haven't been there, but the Florida Keys and the Florida Spring, they look quite similar from what I've seen. Some freshwater springs. So I'm sure there's people here like listening that that live there actually. If you have any information to give on those ones, would be interesting. Hope to go someday. For what we have here, we have different type of cenotes. We have some cenotes that are completely open, some cenotes that are completely closed, so they are like underground caves, and some cenotes that are like half open, half closed. I will make a big difference between the two states we have in some of the two states we have in the Yucatan Peninsula, which is Quintana Roo. Quintana Roo is where I live, so Quintana Roo will be the coast of the Caribbean, so we will have more jungle, it's more humid, and we will have cenotes that will be more like open sinkhole in the jungle, compared to the Yucatan state, which is more dry, which is generally you will see like more like rocky, less jungle for sure, and more like the level of the water will be lower than the ground most of the time. So it's like a big cave, and then the water can be even at 15, 20 meters from the surface. So it's quite interesting. So let me start to share my screen. All right, so here is a map of the Yucatan Peninsula. Do you see my little pointer?
Yes.
Okay, so here we have Cancun, which is the airport, and then we have Playa del Carmen, one of the big cities we have on the coast of the Caribbean. And then if you go a little bit lower, you will have Tulum, which is quite famous now for, especially for the beach, and for the town is booming since a few years. So all this area, we have a lot of cenotes. This is why the diving industry is quite intense in this part. But also we have a lot of cenote in this area, which is like the Yucatan state, and the main city is Merida here. If you like scuba diving as well, because some people definitely love both, and I totally support the idea, like it's very different and it's nice. And if you're interested in cave diving, doing some full cave certification, this kind of things, these parts, Quintana Roo and Tulum especially, it's the mecca for that. It's incredible. We have the longest system of underwater river in the whole world. It's really, really impressive. So it's not something we're going to use much for freediving, because at one point we need to breathe and we need to stay safe. But for cave diver, it's really, really cool. So if you're interested, feel free to join and maybe to plan a trip someday. Now, something interesting, we have the formation of the cenotes due to this limestone bed that's filled with water with the time, and then dried up, and then filled again with water, and then collapsed in some areas. So then they make some holes, which are the actual cenote, the entrance that we can find. But as well, we have the Chicxulub crater, which is supposed to be the landing point of this huge meteorite that made the dinosaur extinct. And it's very interesting because you can see that, so it's on the north of the peninsula, and you can see that, whoops, here, all this area, which is like the circumference of the crater, we have a lot of cenotes there. So it's definitely also related, and because the bedrock of the peninsula is quite soft, I guess like this huge meteorite with some debris all around, like made also some very impressive cenote, even all over the peninsula. For you to know a little bit, this meteorite was supposed to be 9 miles of width, like something very, very big, and it creates a crater of a half-mile deep. Okay, now we're gonna start with the first type of cenotes. So this is the entrance of Cenote Angelita. Cenote Angelita is very famous because it's the one we see most of the time. with this sulfur cloud halfway in the depth of the cenote. I will show you a picture just after. How does it look? It's in the jungle. You enter, you have a little stair, and then you access to the water. It's an open cenote. This cenote goes up to 58 meters, if I'm not wrong, or like close to 60 meters. But for us, for freediver, we can freedive it up to 40 meters because the deepest part is not straight down. It goes in a cave in the side. So this is the entrance of the cenote. The water is clear, like you see with this freediver going up on the line, but it's not like super clear. It's a little bit milky, I will say. So we have a visibility in the good day, like something from 12 to 18 meters, which is definitely not bad, but can be definitely better in other cenotes. But still, it's a very nice place to freedive. The main interest of it is that. So here you can see this picture is from Dan Verhoeven. I'm sure you know this excellent photographer, good friend and really, really good photographer. So here I was just training for a competition. He was there, and you can have an idea of this kind of weird cloud at the bottom, which is not really the bottom, with some branches going out of it, which makes like a very special atmosphere, a little bit creepy. To see a little bit better, here is one of the pictures I took a few years ago. You can see this cloud with the branches going out and the wall of the cenote on the back. So it's very interesting because the cenote, it's not that clear at the surface. I mean, it's enough to do to see well and to practice, but it's not like crazy clear. But then at one point, around 20 meters, it starts to be much clearer and brighter. And then you reach at 30 meters this cloud of sulfur. Then it's like the whole cenote open. Suddenly you see like super well from 22, 23 to 30. You have this almost 10-meter range where you see really well the whole cenote basically. And what is very special about it, it's the top of the cenote, like the first 30 meters of water are filled with fresh water, so rainwater. And then we have this cloud, which is sulfur that got trapped, I believe, from the decomposition of the vegetation that fell into the cenotes over the year. And this sulfur got trapped in between this layer of fresh water on the top and a layer of salt water on the bottom, going all the way down to almost 60 meters. You will see that in most cenotes, we have what we call the halocline like this, which is this separation between fresh water on the top and salt water on the bottom. Remember, the peninsula is porous, so the salt water is actually coming from the sea through infiltration, and it's quite interesting to see that the further you go from the coast, like in the middle of the peninsula, for example, the deeper will be this separation between fresh water and salt water. I will show you later another cenote where we have a competition, and there the halocline is actually around 70 meters. So we have also some cenotes like this. So this is a cenote. This one is located close to Takara. It's a lagoon. It looks like a lake because it's huge, but it's still a cenote. This one is 70 meters, quite flat on the bottom. Yeah, just to show you something a little bit different. Then we have something a little bit different again. It's more like a mangrove-style cenote. So here, this one particularly is linked to the sea with a kind of tunnel. So this one is located very close to the beach, actually. And the salt water really goes in and out. So this cenote is not completely fresh water. You don't have really, in most part of the cenote, you don't have like a real halocline. It's more like a mix between salt water and fresh water, even though at the end of the cenote, we can see the halocline. And it looked like this. So it looked like a river, actually. we were here from the precedent picture, and the sea will be on that side. And then it goes all the way like this, all in the mangroves, and then until the end here. Okay, so this type of cenote is super fun because it's not like a deep place. It's more like a cenote for fun diving, to reconnect with like our love with water and taking pictures and going in swim through. And also it's one of the places where you can see the most life because, of course, because it's linked with the sea, it will host like much more animals. At the end of the presentation, I will go through some of the animals we can find in cenotes. But here, basically, we can find some tarpon, like fish. We can find crocodile. We can find crabs. We can find a lot of birds. We can find coati, which are kind of raccoon, but from here. It's a very cool place to free dive. So when you see a split like that, you have the mangroves on the top, and then the bedrock at the bottom, and a lot of swim through. The general depth of that one is maybe 3-4 meters, maybe goes to 5 or 6 max. So it's definitely not a place to train, but it's a place to have fun and to take a lot of pleasure with your eyes. Here is coming out from one of the swim through we have. So you can notice on the top of the cenote, the mangrove. And because it's mangroves, it's cool because it doesn't always go all the way to the bottom. So that means that we can have some kind of tunnel going below the mangrove. Here another picture showing the mangroves in this same place. And again. And then at the surface, like when we are really in the mangroves, it looks like this. It's a good place to find animals in this type of vegetation. Sometimes you can even see a coati curious to come and see what's happening there, why there is like a free diver going here. This picture is from Dan Verhoeven again. You can see like a bit the size of the place and the depth. Okay. One thing very interesting in this picture, I took this picture in a day where the day before it was raining a lot. And when it rains a lot, we have the mangrove that will release what we call tannic acid. And this will give a color to the water, like a layer, generally red or orange. So that means that if you see from the surface, it will look like this if you put your eyes just below the water level. And then if you go a little bit deeper, 1 or 2 meters, it will go back to the blue or greenish of the water. But that's very interesting to witness. Here is another style of cenote. This one will be like an open cenote, but more like the style we will find in Yucatan. So that means the water level is deeper than the ground, basically. So you walk on the side and then you look down and you see that. That's amazing. Here we have a very clear water. We can see a little bit better here. So the ground level is actually here. And to go down, now in those cenotes that are open for public, we have stairs or ladder or stuff like that to get down. But before, when it was completely wild, there was no real access. So to discover the cenotes, you had to be good at climbing. We can notice in this one the roots from some types of trees that are pumping water directly from the cenotes. And these roots are very, very beautiful. They take years and years to grow. So we need to protect that for sure. But also they are one of the reasons why the bedrock collapse at some places. Apparently in some places where you have like more trees, like going through the limestone to reach the water that is below, at one point it will fragilize the limestone, and then it will break and fall and create a hole that will maybe little by little fill up with more water. Here is a split of the same cenotes. Here is an overview of the roots, actually a macro shot of the roots. So you can see they don't go deep in the water, they just slightly touch it, just enough to pump enough water to feed the trees, but they never go to the bottom of the cenote. If you're in the cenote and you look up, this is the kind of view you will have in this type of cenotes. It's very impressive. You have the roots all over. We can see the stairs here on that one, and the trees. Like it's a very, very interesting view, especially when you do your relaxation. Here is a completely different type of cenote. This one is a closed cave. So we have a little entrance, and then we end up in this huge cave. So here we can really see what was in the video of presentation we show you in the beginning. You have a lot of stalactite on the top. That means that there was infiltration of water to create this, like over years and years and years. It's a very long process to create this kind of sediment of rock formation. What's interesting in this one, first, this one is 50 meters, so it's a really cool place to free dive because it gives a little bit of depth. And also we have an opening just here, which creates with the sun a beam of light. The cenotes are very famous for their beam of light, and it's gonna look like that. So you can see the opening on the top and then the freediver going down in the beam. In this situation, because the beam is small and the rest of the cenote is quite dark, it really creates this lightsaber, like Star Wars effect. It's really, really cool. It's something to discover. You can really feel it when you're in the light. It's very interesting. Here is a friend, a photographer. This is Kostas Konstantinou from Greece that came recently. So just in the beam, in the same cenote. Also, it's one of the places which is fun because this is typical Yucatan land, like quite dry, rocky, with like a farm next to the cenote. So it's one of the places where you really go in your wetsuit at 40 degrees on the sun, and you can see some goats on the way, and then you go in the water. It's quite special. I really find this picture very fun because it's not very common to see a freediver in front of goats like that. Here is one of the entrance of a typical cenote from Yucatan. So a little stair going down, and this one will end up on a huge cavern, stalactite with like several little openings that creates like few beams. And this one is not that deep, it's around 15 meters, but still is very fun for practicing or just taking pictures. Here is in the water of the same cenotes, we can see the bottom. It will be like kind of dunes, and this will be mainly some part of the roof that collapsed and a lot of sediment that will create a kind of sand. So if you touch this kind of sand, it's gonna go into a lot of particles. So we need to be careful if we take a picture, for example, but it gives like an effect, like really special. This one looks like space. I mean, literally, we can see in the background some beam of light. And yeah, it's like freediving over the moon.
Wow.
Here is just one of the entrance, another one, so we can see the huge rock formations, stalactites and stalagmites. And another style again, still in Yucatan. This is more like the type of cenotes we have in Yucatan. Instead of Quintana Roo, you will see that it's a bit different. This one is very shallow, but still very pretty. So it's not a place really to freedive, but it's a nice place to see. Now we have a very special cenote. This one is the home of the freediving competition Xibalba. Xibalba is organized by Alejandro Lemus, our Mexican champion, 100-meter plus diver. And it's really in a very, very tiny town in the middle of Yucatan, quite far from everything. But this cenote is quite incredible. We have a little access on that side with a stair. On the top, we have an opening. That means that we will have a beam of light at the right time of the year. Will touch the water exactly in the center. And then we have the cenote here. To show you a little bit the idea, we have the ground here. Then we have this dry cave that we just saw on the picture before. And then we have a little path to access. And then we have the beginning of the water. What is very impressive in this cenote is the size. This cenote goes 200 meters. So it's literally a tube. Alejandro called it his Y92 joy, like in
Italy.
like yeah, like a joke about this pool, the Y40 in Italy, because we can freedive it to 92 meters. It's the limit we set for the competition, because at the bottom there's stuff, you can find some branches and some rocks or whatever, and you don't want to free fall at 90 meters and to touch something that will be like not very cool. But yeah, it's like a perfect tube going down. It's really incredible. Some people could believe that this is going to China. If you have occasion someday, if you're a competitive freediver and you want to try something different, that's a competition you could consider. It's not unlimited depth, but it's a lot of fun, and it's very challenging in a way that, remember, it's freshwater, so you're gonna sink more. That means the density of the water is different than salt water. That means that you're gonna go faster on the way down, yes, but you're gonna pay it on the way back. And if I take my own example, I have a lot of I have a hard time in for deep diving in cenotes, especially because my body composition makes me sink a lot. Like if I take a full breath and I have a 3mm suit in this particular cenote, I will be neutral around 5 meters, which is not the best, especially for the gliding phase at the end of the dive. So personally, for the record, like what I do to perform in this kind of places, because I still do some deep dive. I set several bifinch record in this one, for example. I will wear 2 pants, 3mm and then 3mm again, so I have 6mm of neoprene. I know it's gonna compress, but still it helps me to reach more distant buoyancy on the way up sooner than if I was not having this double pants. I will definitely not freedive that one in 1.5mm. That will be terrible. But with this little trick, I managed to have some good sensation. In this cenote, we have a halocline around 70 meters. That means that around 70 meters, you go from freshwater to saltwater. That means that you're gonna slow down as well. So that's a weird feeling. You're free falling, you gain some speed, and then you feel like, ooh, a little bit like that. You can hear it on your carabiner, but it's interesting. You just need to know that. In general, when you take your personal best in freshwater, you remove 3-4 meters, and you should be around the same performance. But you need to try. Some people feel really good in freshwater, and some people, like me, it's more difficult. It's really, I think it depends on your body composition mainly. Also, let's talk a bit about the darkness in this cenote and many cenotes. The top part is quite bright because you have the beam of light if you're lucky and the right time of the day, and it's the water is super clear. Like in this one, the visibility is more than 40 meters. It's really impressive. But then at one point, the light stopped reaching and it started to get darker and darker. In that cenote, I personally dive with a light, a little light I will put in my hood, or the same way you can see Alexei Molchanovs diving and other people diving in the blue hole in Bahamas with the light on the top of their head. I think this is a very good way to go through the darkness, to be able to free fall without touching the line. and just like focus on this little white beam in front of you and just relax for the rest of your free fall. Some people are diving it without lights, but I think most of them, they touch the line in this case. Yeah, so that's for this particular cenote. So you can see from the competition we had last year, one athlete here doing some relaxation before his dive. We have the platform. The cenote is very small, huh? So it's like the platform take like a quarter of the cenote almost. And then we have two warm-up buoy in the front. And what is very, very cool is that the whole village comes actually to see it and to just like take part of the competition and cheer for people. And it's really nice to see like all the Mexican population and Mayan population from this quite secluded place, like having access to this weird competition with people diving to incredible depths like that. It's quite fun. The community is very cool. Here is a top view of the cenote with the platform and the warm-up line. And here you can see I'm going down. That's a picture from Danverhoven again. So you can see the opening of the hole, and you can notice the light I have in my hood. And here's the crowd cheering during the competition. That one was in 2018. A little bit more, like this is the typical landscape of Yucatan, quite dry, rocky, with opening. Here will be an opening to a cenote. Same Yucatan. Here is another opening of cenotes with like a ladder. You will see this one is quite special. You really go into a tiny hole in the ground, and then you access to this cave with some roots and stalactite again, and blue water. Here is the opening from downstairs. Some nature. Another one, so you can see like here, like a widest beam. This one goes up to 40 meters. Wow, now we change completely. Impressive. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Here we change a little bit. Now we are back in Quintana Roo, so more like Tulum and Playa del Carmen. Especially this one is in Tulum. This is the jungle we have around here. So you see it's much more humid. We have much more plants and much more green. It's very different. It's just like a few hours driving away, but still it's a very different style. Here is a very tiny cenote that I know in a little village very close to Tulum. This one is still quite wild. There's no special access or entrance or anything. You just go there and you see it, but it's not a place for diving. It's more like just to take a little bath or to just see the beauty of the place. We have some cenotes like this, which have sometimes caves. So this is the same place, but from the cave that we have in one side. This cave actually is going to miles and miles because it connects to one of the biggest systems of underwater river we have in the aquifer. This is another cenote. This one very famous for what we call the underwater lilies. So all this very special vegetation we can find in some cenotes, especially in Quintana Roo around Tulum. Wow. This picture is from Danverhoven again.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I will say every time I use a picture that is not from me, I will say, I will tell the photographer.
We're also running a time net, so.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you want to wait? I will show you something. Yeah, we have this type of cenotes as well, completely closed, more close to Quintana Roo. That will be very clear water, a lot of cave and stalactites, stalagmites in the water will look like this. Wow. Again, not a place for training, but a place for having fun. And we have also dry cave like that. Okay, so that cover like widely the type of cenote we have. Now, just for the end, one of the most impressive we have in Quintana Roo is that one, which is from outside look like just a little hole with a stair. But then when you get underwater, you have that. And this is like a huge, magnificent beam of light. It's the one you will see most of the time in my pictures because I love to shoot in this place. This is a good place for training. It's a good place for pictures. It's a good place for just fun. The beam will go all the way down to the cloud that in this one will be around 27 meters, but it goes actually much deeper. The cenotes, I made a little drawing to explain. The opening at the surface is quite small, but the cave is big. Imagine like a coconut. You want to cut the top and you make a little hole, and then the rest of the coconut is the cave. This is basically what we have in that one. So we have the surface, we have some stalactite at the top. All of this is filled with water. At 27 meters, we have the sulfur cloud. And then at around 35 meters, we have the collapsed rock from the top that made a pile. That means that on a straight line from the surface, we will touch the bottom at 35, but on the side, you will have access to more depth, for example, if you're a scuba diver. And on the side, we will have also some rock formation, some kind of huge bell. To give you an idea of the size, here is a freediver with a 10-meter line staying at the top. Okay, like this.
Wow. So we have a few questions. So you already mentioned that the first part of the cenote is mostly fresh water, and then below the cloud we have salt water, right? And what is the water temperature like?
Okay, so the water temperature in most cenotes is 25 degrees. In some cenotes, it's going to be a little bit more. In some cenotes, a little bit less. The lowest I've seen is 22 degrees, especially in the one of Yucatan that are a little bit deeper into the ground. Sometimes you enter like this huge cave and you feel like an AC feeling. It's because it's a little bit colder, but most of the time it's 25 meters. So we free dive in a 3mm suit up to 5mm suit, depending if you're really chilly and if the suit is good quality or not.
Okay, and then you explained already a little bit about the visibility, that the visibility is quite good, but then in the cloud it gets, of course, not very good. And then how about the current? Is there any current?
Yeah, so visibility, it depends. Some cenotes have great visibility, some cenotes don't have good visibility. And sometimes we have also some layers, so it can start very bad visibility and then suddenly opens to something that is very clear. In general, we have like clear water, and then we can have a cloud, and then the cloud will be maybe 1 or 2 meters thick, something like this. I don't know, it's difficult to judge really, but it's not gonna last forever, okay? It's just a layer of sulfur trapped. And then after that, generally it goes like super good visibility, but very dark because the lights don't really go through the cloud depending of how is the cloud. Yeah, for visibility, so really depend. We try to find the best places with the best visibility and deep places for freediving, and there's not many like that. So we have like our preferred place, like all over the peninsula where we go. The second question was?
And is the cloud, is it toxic?
Yeah, yes, the cloud is toxic, so you don't want to do a hang in the cloud, that's for sure. It's gonna smell like eggs. But in some of the cloud you can cross and you should not have any problem. If you just go through, you will have like half a second in the cloud really, because you will pass it. Like for example, in Angelita, I cross the cloud all the time when I train and I never had any problem. But in the cenote we have on the picture now, that one, the cloud, for example, at 27 meters is quite toxic. It's very strong. It burns the eyes if you go with no slip and no mask, for example. So I would not really cross that one. I don't think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
In terms of current, we have absolutely no current in cenote because we don't have like moving water, except in the cenotes that could be like the one in the with the mangrove I showed you in the beginning, where we have a direct access with the sea, where then the tide will completely influence the movement of water, and sometimes we have a quite strong current in that one.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Something I want to add one thing about the visibility that is very interesting here. we can see the cenote that look like a perfect hole, very nice blue water, crystal clear visibility. This one is 30 meters from the surface. You see the bottom. You can spot a mask at the bottom if you have enough light. This is during the winter, and then the temperature will change of the water because the sun will move and get more on the top of the cenote, so it will not be much protected by the trees on the side, if you see what I mean. And then we will have a reaction and the water will completely change during the summer. So this cenote, which is incredibly beautiful and clear, so here is like a picture of that cenote.
Wow.
And this one is also the same one, so you see it's beautiful.
Wow.
If you go to that place in the summer, it's gonna turn like this.
Oh,
and
wow.
Here you can see the water is green and completely murky. And that will be for almost 15 meters. And below that, it's gonna be clear as well. I think it's a reaction with the temperature of the water that change. When it starts to get warmer, then we might have something like algae or like a change in the living creature, like basically in the flora. I don't know in English how to say, and that will make like a different layer like this.
Okay, and how is this one called?
This one is one of my secret spots.
Okay.
I call it El Mat. So good. If you see people talking about that one, it's this one. It's good. One of my favorites in the world.
Okay. Great. So, do you want to wrap up? We have a few questions here.
Yeah.
In the chat, or do you want to share any more pictures?
I have quite a bit, but I don't want to take too much time. So it's up to you. We can.
Yeah, we're running out of time. So.
Okay, let's switch to some question. I showed you already quite a bit. I will just finish with the wildlife. Okay, so to show you a bit what we can find. So here is in a cenote mangrove type, we have a resident crocodile. So this little guy is called Panchito. He's one of the most famous crocodile, I think, in the whole peninsula. He starts to be quite big. It's a morelet crocodile. So it's a type of saltwater crocodile. He's very chill. Yeah, so he's very chill because he's used to people, but of course you want to keep a perimeter around, and most of the time he's sleeping in a rock, so there's not much interaction. If you're very lucky, he's gonna be swimming to go from A to B, and if you keep enough distance, you can follow gently and just see like the beautiful way they swim using the tail propulsion, and it's a very cool animal. I'm personally a fan of reptiles and insects and arachnid and all this kind of weird crawler. So for me, it's like dream come true when I manage to have some dive with them. Here is the same croc taking a little bit of sun on the rocks. Don't take it wrong. Huh? I mean, it's still wild animals. It's not pet. You don't want to touch them. You don't want to get too close. And they are not the same as the saltwater crocodile you can find in Australia. I would never get in the water in Australia with a saltwater croc, except if I want to die. But here it's quite okay if you find one and you respect some way, especially when they grew up with like a lot of snorkeler around and people.
Cool.
Here is from below the water. You can see him like swimming. And then we have like a baby one, like this. That's all often like in some cenotes, like a baby crocodile popping one day. You're like, oh, okay, that's a crocodile. And he stays for a while, and at one point he goes. I don't know exactly where or if someone take it or what, but it's quite cool. Now we have this one since more than a year that start to grow a little bit. It's still baby. You can see like the size of the stairs. And he is taking some sun on a branch, the tail of the head, and in the water.
So Matt, can you tell us a little bit about how is it to train there? Is it hard to get access to the cenotes?
To train, actually, when you come to the peninsula, most people expect that they will just like walk and then they will have cenotes everywhere and they can just put a buoy and dive in it. But that's not really the way it is, especially in Quintana Roo. Most cenotes are either private, so in private land, so you don't have access, or open to public and quite protected because we have a lot of liability release and liability problem, because what happens if we have an accident and the Cenotes doesn't want to be responsible, and freediving is still seen like something that can be dangerous. So we try to educate Cenote owner to explain that when you do it with the rules, etc., it's like quite safe activity and fun. So to freedive the cenotes, generally you need to go through an instructor or school that is registered in the area that will sign you up and take you in the cenote. In a way, it's good because when you come to a cenote and you don't know it, you don't know what's at the bottom, you don't know the possible danger of the place, you don't know how to not destroy it, or how to be safe. You need a specific gear sometime and lights. So this is the way it works. You can still like travel a little bit more in Yucatan and find some little places there and there and have fun. But for most of the deep cenote, or the one we really use for teaching, like the Molchanovs course, or for training, it's gonna be you're gonna have to be registered for most of the cenotes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. So yes.
Yeah. I just to finish on the animals, I just have a few to show. So we have turtles also, like this. We have catfish. We have tarpon that you can find in the ocean as well. When the cenote is close to the ocean and it's connected, sometimes they grow, like in that one. Crabs, and also mangrove crabs that will be like more red. We have frogs sometimes. And we have iguanas, like a spiny tail black iguana with a big head. And we have coati, that's this little raccoon-like animal that we can find in the mangroves often in Quintana Roo. I really love this one. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. Awesome. Do you guys have any more questions? Looks like not. I think we replied to all of the okay, cool. Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. Very, very interesting, yeah. Very magical places.
Yeah, I hope I made you travel a little bit through pictures and you have a better understanding of what is a cenote and how it works and all. If you have any questions, feel free to join me. You can find my website, cenotefreediving.com, and Instagram, Cenote Freediving, and Matt Freediver. I'm very happy to help you. And to end, maybe we can play the 2 videos I gave you, Alisa, if we have like 5 minutes more.